Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video on our tiny garden. If you have been following this rebuilding journey, thank you so much for being here. And in today's video, we'll be working on another important milestone for the tiny house project, the roof and the veranda. The team began by installing the timber framework and fixing the fascia boards. Piece by piece, the structure that would support the roof started coming together. When we first started this tiny house project, it was nothing more than a foundation in the middle of an empty piece of land. Slowly, one step at a time, it began to take shape. The walls went up, and now it was finally time to put a roof over it. Watching the roof structure come together was exciting, and this is because this was one of those stages where the building started to look less like a construction project and more like a place that could actually be used. Once the framework was ready, the next step was to bring in the roofing sheets. For this project, I chose charcoal gray box profile mabati or iron sheets, and seeing the sheets on site made the whole project feel a little more real because I could finally picture what the finished house would look like. I liked the charcoal gray color because it gave the tiny house a simple, clean look that blended well with the overall vision for the space. One by one, the sheets were lifted onto the roof and fixed into place. What had been an open structure for weeks was now beginning to offer shelter from the sun and the rain. As the roofing work continued, there was another task taking place around the property. When the foundation was dug, a large amount of cotton soil was removed. Instead of throwing it away, I decided to keep it and spread it around the fence line. Nothing goes to waste here if it can still serve a purpose. My plan is to establish a living fence around the boundary in the future, and this soil will help support that project when the time comes. I could finally step inside and get a different perspective of the space. Having a roof over the structure completely changed how the tiny house felt. For the first time, it started feeling like a room rather than just a building site.
Bora ziko ya green.
The project was moving forward, but there was still one more improvement to make. And on the next day, work began on the veranda. I wanted a simple space around the house that would make it easier to move in and out, especially during the rainy season. It also helps create a transition between the house and the surrounding garden space. The outline was marked, the formwork was prepared, and the concrete work began. As the veranda took shape, the entire house started looking more complete. Sometimes it isn't the major structures that make the biggest difference. Small details can completely change how a space feels and functions. Once the veranda was finished, steps were added to make access easier and safer. Standing back and looking at the completed roof, the veranda and the steps, it was hard not to appreciate how far this project has come. There is still a lot of work ahead. The garden still needs attention, the living fence is still part of the plan, and many other improvements remain on the list. But every completed stage brings this place a little closer to the vision I have for it. For now, the tiny house has a roof, a veranda, and a little more character than it did a few weeks ago. Thank you for being part of this rebuilding journey and for following along as this little space slowly comes to life. If you are enjoying the journey and haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing so you do not miss the next steps. In the next video, we will be installing the windows and doors, another exciting milestone that will bring us one step closer to having a complete tiny house. Until then, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.